Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear students. Today we are going to continue with our third lecture on syntax. As we said last time, larger chunks can be divided into smaller parts. A sentence can be divided into phrases, and the phrases can be broken easily into words. Okay, we are swiftly moving on to part 2. Lexical rules, okay. What is a lexical rule? A word has a specific function in a word. It can function as a subject, as a verb, as an object. It can be adjective, it can be verb, a transitive verb, linking verb, and so on, and it can be preposition or a pronoun. Okay, we are going just to get into details. Phrase structure rules generate structures as we explained this last time. I would say near Gaza, in office, on the table, under the table. So we have a preposition, a plus noun, and so on. In order to turn this structure into recognizable English, we also need lexical rules. So we have PN that stand for proper noun, Mary, George, Gaza, Khan Yunis, Ramallah, and so on. Noun, girl, dog, boy. And if you ask what is a noun is a word that names something, gives an entity to something, like when you say chair, table. We have a proper nouns, we have collective nouns, we have abstract nouns like democracy, freedom, happiness, and so on. We have articles are so common in English, like when you say apple, an apple, dog, a dog, table, the table that you see, and we have pronouns like he, she, you, and so on. Pronouns, we have personal pronouns like I, you, he, she, we, they, and we have object pronouns like him, her, it, them, and you. And we have reflexive pronouns like myself, himself, themselves, and so on. Verbs. Verbs like the verb follow, see, watch. A verb usually denotes or refers to an action or a state of being, and so on, like the verb to be is, are. We have adjectives. Some words are adjectives. And adjectives usually describe something, modify something, or modify the noun. Like when you say old, nice, happy, cheerful, constructive. And we have the prepositions like between, against, on. We have adverb like yesterday, recently, now, soon, beautifully, happily, and so on. So these are called lexical rules. So a word in a sentence has a function or a lexical rule. We can rely on these rules to generate the grammatical sentences from 1 to 6, but not the any grammatical sentence. So when we say we are able to generate lots of sentences from different ways, that doesn't mean that this is can be done randomly, because language is governed by rules. So language is rule governed. We have syntactic rules that we must follow. Look at number 1. A dog followed the boy, but not dog followed boy, or the boy followed. Why this is unacceptable? Because it violates English grammar or English syntactic rules or English syntax. Number 2, Mary helped George. Number 3, George saw the dog. But at number 9, can I say Mary, George, dog? Mary, dog saw? Absolutely not. If you just, look into the examples, you will just get to know whether this is acceptable or unacceptable. Okay, what enables you to do this? It is your linguistic competence or your linguistic knowledge. As you see here, we have, sentence diagrams, or I would say representation of how we divide the sentence into phrases. Look, sentence, noun phrase, and verb phrase. And that's very important to remember, that a sentence must have a noun phrase functioning as a subject, and then the verb phrase, because there is no sentence without verb. A sentence that has complete thought in itself. So noun phrase, we have article or determiner, then we have noun. Look, we have a dog. Then verb phrase, we have verb, and then we have noun phrase because we have the boy. That is an object. That is the direct object. A dog followed the boy. Okay, in the other example, we have you saw it. It is a pronoun. So sentence, we have noun phrase here, okay, we have noun phrase and we have verb phrase. Look at these two rows, okay, noun phrase and verb phrase, because this is fundamental in the sentence. Because if someone asks, what are the fundamental elements of a sentence? The answer will be a subject and verb, or a subject and a predicate. So the verb is an essential part of the sentence, because there is no sentence without a verb. And in English, okay, it is usually that we begin the sentence with a subject or a noun. So we have here, okay, the noun, as you see, the noun phrase is realized by what? By pronoun, you, and then we have the verb. So that is a transitive verb, and then we have the object it. So we have verb phrase, we have verb, and plus noun phrase, and okay, we have the pronoun. So someone may ask another question. Can a phrase consist of a single word? We say yes, because here is a good example of that, or that prove this. We have pronoun it. I would say I gave it to him. So him is a single word that is an objective pronoun, and it is a noun phrase. It is an object, it is indirect object, direct object, it doesn't matter, because we have to say that a noun phrase may function as a subject in the sentence, the subject of the sentence, or the object of the sentence, or it can be a complement. It can be a complement of the subject, it can be a complement of an object, okay? Movement rules, declarative forms. Declarative form, or we say declarative sentence. Okay, a sentence that has a complete meaning, a complete thought in itself. You will help Mary. You will come tomorrow. You will do your job. Okay, you are a teacher, and so on. So declarative statement or declarative sentence is a sentence that declares something. Interrogative or interrogative forms or interrogative sentences, it is a sentence or a statement that usually asks a question. I would say, will you help Mary? Will you come tomorrow? Do you speak English? So look at the intonation, okay? The sentence starts with normal intonation, then okay, it ends with rising intonation. If I say, are you from Gaza? Not are you from Gaza. Interrogative sentence or form doesn't necessarily start with a question word. If I say, for example, you're going to Gaza, you're Ahmed. Not you are Ahmed, you're Ahmed. So I have to raise my voice at the end. In making the question, we move one part of the structure to a different position. We call this generative English, because we can generate another structure from the same structure. If I say Inas can play tennis, so can Inas play tennis? So the subject is inverted here, okay? We change the position of the subject and we move the helping verb, the modal verb at the beginning. So can Inas play tennis? Can I have a cup of tea? And so on. This process is based on a movement rule. Is based on a movement rule, and we call this movement rules, or some people call it generative grammar. As you see, we have as here, okay, noun phrase, auxiliary verb, okay? We have the sentence, noun phrase, and we have auxiliary verb, auxiliary can, could, should, and we call this modal verb, okay? Verb, follow, help, see, etc. This is very clear, and you studied this in primary school, by the way. With these components, we can specify or determine a simple movement rule that is involved in the creation of one basic type of a question in English. Noun phrase, auxiliary verb phrase, okay, consists of auxiliary noun phrase, verb phrase. I would say Ahmed is helping his mom, or Ahmed is working. So you see this, is Ahmed working? Is Ahmed working? I would say Sarah can swim. Sarah can swim. Can Sarah swim? So Sarah is a noun phrase. And swim is a verb phrase, is a lexical verb, and can is the auxiliary or the modal. This is very clear in English. This type of rule has a special symbol, okay, see this, and can be illustrated in the process of one tree on the right being derived from the tree on the left. As you see, we have sentence, and then we have noun phrase, auxiliary verb phrase. See the noun phrase, we have the pronoun you. If it is the dog, it would be the dog, the lion, the lion. If we have the lion here, there will be another row, which is article or determiner, the. Then we have noun, dog, the dog, or the lion, or the man. And then we have auxiliary. Auxiliary, or you can say a verb phrase. Verb phrase, we have another row that is auxiliary, and we have the lexical verb, but you can follow any style that doesn't matter a lot. So we have auxiliary well, and then we have the verb here, the verb as you see, help. Then we have the noun phrase. So from the verb phrase, we have two rows, the verb and noun phrase, because we have marry, that is the proper noun, اسم العلم. Now see the movement, see the slight change. We have sentence, okay, because this is a question. Then we have auxiliary, well, and we have noun phrase. So we have three rows, auxiliary, noun phrase, and verb phrase. We have the pronoun you. See this, the subject is inverted here. And then we have the verb help you. Help, okay, well, you help Mary. So the noun phrase consists of a single word that is Mary. That is Mary. Hopefully you understand this. He can open the door. He can open the door, okay? She's going to write a new story. She will have to write a new story. Ahmed would finish his study very soon. The students will come to class tomorrow. If we want to have a movement rule, we have to say, can he open the door? So we have a question mark, because this becomes interrogative question or interrogative. She's going to write. Is she going to write? Ahmed would finish. Would Ahmed finish? The students will come. Will the students come? Using this simple rule, we can also generate these other questions. Remember the term generative grammar. Can you see the dog? Could the boy see it? Okay, the dog is a noun phrase, the dog, and we have here one word or a single word that is the pronoun. That is the pronoun it. Should George follow you? Would Mary help George? So you have different sentences here. Just try to consider them. Can you see the dog? So can is a modal or auxiliary. Use a noun phrase, and see is a verb phrase, and from the verb phrase we have the other noun phrase, the dog. So we have two noun phrases actually in this interrogative form or interrogative question. Just to try to contemplate. Deep and surface structure. The deep structure is the abstract level of structural organization in which all the elements which determine structural interpretation and represented. The structural interpretation are represented. Okay, so once again, the deep structure, it's the deep meaning that you have in mind. Okay, if I say, will you come tomorrow morning? So you have the deep meaning that I'm asking if you want to come tomorrow morning. So we have time and we have possibility in the future. The surface structure is the outward form of sentence. So the deep structure is the meaning that you get. And the surface structure, okay, is the form that, the written form of the form that you see. Okay, if I say Charlie broke the window. The window was broken by Charlie. Was the window broken by Charlie? So we have here the verb broke, which is a past form or past tense or simple tense, and we have the window, that is the object. So that is the object becomes subject of the sentence. The window was broken. This is passive by Charlie, you see. So the window is a noun phrase, and was broken is a verb phrase. Of course, this is past and passive, and by Charlie, this is a verb phrase. Don't forget this. Was the window broken by Charlie? And you can say, whom was the window broken by? Who broke the window? okay, what made the window break, and so on. So you can generate lots of other sentences. Okay. Although they are different in the surface structure, different arrangements or reordering, okay? So different in their surface structures, okay, that means that there are different arrangements or reordering, okay? So it's up to you. If I say Sarah saw Mary, Mary was seen by Sarah, Sarah was the one who saw Mary, and Sarah was the first one who was seen by Mary. So we have different arrangements, but after all, we have, okay, similar meaning, if not identical meaning, with some slight change. Okay, but they have the same deep or underlying structure. Underlying means basic, essential, equals same basic components, because we have a Charlie is a noun phrase, and we have a Charlie in the second sentence. That is the noun phrase, and here we have, okay, noun phrase, okay, noun phrase, noun phrase, noun phrase. So despite the change in their position in the sentence, they are still noun phrase, okay? The deep structure is an abstract level of structural organization. You don't need to bother yourself understanding or getting these things. Just, okay, have some surface information regardless of their meaning. In short, the grammar must be capable. In short, the grammar must be capable of showing how a single underlying abstract representation can become different surface structures. Okay. So once again, I would say I bought a new table. A new table was bought. I am the one who bought a new table. A new table was the thing that I bought, and so on. So we can change the position of the noun phrase, whether, okay, initially or finally, still it is a noun phrase. So what is a subject can become an object. If I say Ahmed saw the lion saw Ahmed. So Ahmed is a noun phrase, and so is a verb phrase, and the lion is the noun phrase. So the subject can become an object, and the object can become a subject. Okay, don't forget this. Structural ambiguity. What is meant by ambiguity? An ambiguous sentence is a sentence that has double meaning. If I say, I found Muhammad a good teacher, I found Muhammad a good teacher. In Arabic it has two different translations. It can be وجدت أن محمد مدرسا جيدا أو وجدت لمحمد مدرسا جيدا. So sometimes the verb itself causes ambiguity. Sometimes the whole sentence is ambiguity. Sometimes because the meaning of the word, because it has, several unrelated meanings or several related meanings. Let's have this example. What are the two possible meanings? The two distinct deep structure, two distinct underlying interpretations here. The boy saw the man with the telescope. The boy saw the man who has or who had a telescope. Or the boy used a telescope to see the man. So this sentence entails or has or carries two different meanings. Hence, it is an ambiguous sentence. Okay, that's the boy. Small boys and girls. If I say small boys and girls, do I mean that the boys and girls are small? Or I mean small boys and girls who are not small? If I say, okay, for men and women, do I mean for women and for men, or for women and other number of men? So sometimes, okay, the sentence itself or the structure itself is ambiguous. Our syntactic analysis should be capable of showing the structural distinction between these underlying representations. So if I want to say the boy saw the man who had the telescope. Who had the telescope? Look, this is the deep structure of the sentence, and it has another interpretation or different meaning or different interpretation and so on. If I say, I found my friend Muhammad a good teacher, I found that my friend Muhammad a good teacher, or I found Muhammad, my friend, to be a good teacher. That's the first meaning, and that is the first deep structure, okay? The meaning that I get about this, regardless of the surface structure. The form itself. The other meaning could be, I found a good teacher for my dad. I found a good teacher for my dad, for my sister, for my cousin, and so on. Structural ambiguity, a situation in which a single phrase or sentence has two or more different underlying structures and interpretation. Why we say different underlying structures? Because this could be the boy saw the man who had the telescope, or the boy used the telescope to see the man. Okay? The boy, okay, this is very clear. Using the telescope, the boy saw the man, or with a telescope, or with the telescope, the man, the boy saw the man, or the boy saw the man had a telescope, etc. Okay, as you see, subject, noun phrase, verb phrase, noun phrase, article, adjective. You see the boy, so the boy, we have the article, that's the noun phrase, we have the article, and we have the noun phrase, so that is the verb phrase. So you are expected to have two rows. That is the verb, and the noun phrase, we have article or determiner, and we have the noun. Okay, so the noun phrase here consists of two elements. The first element is the article, and the second element is the man. The man had a telescope. Okay, so hopefully this is very clear. As you see here, we have sentence, noun phrase, and verb phrase, and this is an underlying part of the sentence. As you see, noun phrase, we have article, that is the terminal, the, and then we have the noun, so the boy, okay, the boy, then verb phrase, because we have the verb, so that is a transitive verb. So once again, we have noun phrase, and we have PP, prepositional phrase. Okay, so remember, we have three rows. We have article, okay, the, and we have noun, man, and then the verb phrase. From the verb phrase, we must have two rows, the prepositions and the noun phrase, because we have with a telescope. If I say I found Muhammad in the room, so let's suppose we have the verb phrase in the room. So here we have a verb phrase, here we have verb phrase, and then we have a preposition, and then we have the noun phrase, then we have the article and the noun. Okay, and so on. This is very clear. We have two sentences, as you see. Okay. Sentence, verb phrase, verb noun phrase, and so on. So hopefully this is very easy to get. Recursion, in English we have something called recursive rules. If I say Mary helped George, Kathy knew that Mary helped George. I understood that George was helped by Mary. Mary was the person who helped George. George was helped by Mary. So we can generate lots of sentences. John believed that Kathy knew that Mary helped me. Or I would say Mary understands that John understands, that Ryan understands that he or she helped George, and so on. I saw a cat on the table. I saw a cat on the table. That Muhammad Ali, who lived in Khan Yunis, which is a city in Palestine, so and so on, and then you finish the sentence. This is the cat that ate the rat, etc. So you have to generate, and you have to add modifiers up to the grammar of English, okay, etc. Recursive rules can be applied more than once in generating a structure. Repeat prepositional phrases more than once. I would say, I saw the man who came from Japan, which is an Asian country. that is located in the west north of Asia, which is the largest in the world, and so on. So as you see, so let's read this. Recursive rules can be applied more than once in generating a structure. Okay, repeat. So you can repeat prepositional phrase more than once. The gun was on the table. The gun was on the table near the window. The gun was on the table near the window in the bedroom. Mary helped George, Kathy knew, etc. As you see, this is very clear. Here, okay, put sentences inside other sentences. Here we have complement phrases. Dear students, this is the end of our meeting today. Inshallah, hopefully we will meet soon to continue with these important points. Thank you so much for joining me.